All righty. Hello, hello, everyone. We are back here this month with another Women with Mojo conversation series with inspiring women over 40. And I've got a good one for you today. But this every single month, I love just to bring on a woman who has a story, something that I feel can not only inspire us, but maybe teach us a little bit of something, how we can thrive in our own lives. Because mojo means magic, right? And our mojo, it's our adventure, our passion. And when we learn and we feel inspired, we go out there and we share that with other people. And so Women with Mojo was created specifically for women who are already out there in the world, shining their light, sharing their gifts, and hopefully you'll be able to gain a little bit of their magic as well today. So I have a very special guest that I'm bringing on. Her name is Anna Brooke, and I'm just getting to know Anna myself, and I cannot wait for this conversation. I've been waiting for this one. And Anna is an author, a speaker, a dancer, and an interdisciplinary healing arts practitioner. By day, she is a breath worker, Wu Tao dancer, and empowerment counselor who works with clients and groups to help everyone feel nurtured, supported, and ready to move with the flow of life with ease and joy. By night, she is known as Reverend Legs Malone, a burlesque dancer, teacher, producer, and advocate who's been the star of many downtown New York City and international stages for the last 14 years. Anna blends her deep love for healing and empowerment with the raucous joy of burlesque, and she published her first book, Stripped Down: How Burlesque Led Me Home, and with the Unapologetic Voice House in May 2020. Part memoir, part manifesto, Anna's book tells her story of how she came to burlesque and how it led her home to a far more divine and connected place than she ever thought possible. So let's get Anna on here. There she is.
Hello.
Hello, welcome, welcome to the Women with Mojo stage here. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes. What a beautiful bio you have. Some of the wording that you used, I just love it, the flow of life and so forth. So you speak my language and I'm
I
very
love that.
excited to share more. And I always like to start off my Women with Mojo series just kind of asking my guests just a simple question. And that is just
Mhm.
what are three things or just a couple things that you're thankful for in just this moment? Just kind of helps us get to know you a little
Mm,
bit.
I love this question. Three things I'm thankful for in this moment. Number one is technology, technology that works. Huge number one.
Absolutely.
um, Number two, this enormous cup of Rooibos tea, which is like my lifeblood. And number three, really gratitude to you for having me in here and to have this super cool conversation, a brand new connection with
Yeah.
your fabulous group that I've totally been like lurking in. I have not commented. I
That's
apologize.
okay.
Like,
We've got lots of
ooh, who's
lurkers
this?
in there. That's all right. We've got Marva watching us live today. Marva's one of the who never lurks. Marva always participates. So she says your smile is beautiful. So
Oh, thanks, Marva. I appreciate that.
yeah. Well, those are wonderful. Yes. So thank you so much, for sharing. That was great. And I want to, obviously you've got a story, right? But I kind of like to
Mm,
take people back a little bit to kind of like the beginning of where they started. So you've
mm.
talked about you're a healing arts practitioner. You also have been a dancer. Was dancing always kind of something you've done since childhood?
Yes, I'm the kind of person. It doesn't matter if I'm at on a dance floor or in the aisle of a CVS. If music comes on, I am moving. I am dancing, much to the horror of my friends. I've never. It's something. Even if my mind is trying to be like, no, 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 like don't move, don't take up space. My body's like, nope, it's party time. Let's do this. So but also from a very young age, I was really fortunate to take dance classes and ballet, jazz, tap, all of that, and then I just kept dancing. So I have always been a dancer, and God
Yeah.
willing, I always will be.
And so when you studied, were you like, I mean, obviously burlesque you weren't probably doing as a child. So were you more of the
No.
ballerina type or what were you doing?
hmm
Yeah.
My dream. So there's a story my father loves to tell me, which is when I was 8 years old, he asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, and I told him that I wanted to be a soloist, and he was like, in what? Music, dance? And I was like, no, I just want to be a soloist. And he was like, okay. And from that point, I really, ballet was my dream. Growing up, I tried out for the School of American Ballet when I was, oh gosh, I want to say about 10, which was just a
Oh, wow.
horrifically, like, woof, terrible, hard, rotten experience. But again, I mean, no experience is ever lost. So I learned a lot about that, what it's like to, if I wanted to be dancing professionally, what it was going to take. And at that audition, I was like, oh, no, 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 I'm not cut out for this whatsoever.
Yeah. And so how did kind of burlesque come in? Was that just something you were already like, well, actually, before we even get into that, so you mentioned that you were
Hmm.
in New York City, right? So
Hmm.
you obviously were in shows there. So it was something you continued to do.
Hmm.
What was that experience like? I've never known anybody who's kind of been in like big shows like that and so forth.
Oh, there is nothing like it. And speaking as somebody who loves the spotlight, who loves to be on stage, who loves to connect with
Loves to be a
people,
soloist, yes.
absolutely, with a capital S, I'll have
Yes.
you mind.
And it's so funny because I'm looking at your background. There's like nothing but you, and me. I've got all this stuff going background. She's like, no,
I
I
was
am.
actually admiring your background, and I was like,
This is
wow, my
different.
background's really blank.
Oh no, you look like front and center. I love it. So that's
Thank
great.
you. I would normally have a green screen, but unfortunately, my skin is the same color as the wall, and so all you see are like my eyes and my eyebrows, and my hair, and my
Funny,
top. So,
funny, 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 funny. So Anna, how? So tell me a little bit about the burlesque. So how did that
Mhm.
eventually come into your world? And also, when you tell, also explain what burlesque really is, because I don't think most
Mhm.
people know what it is. I know I personally have a notion, but probably not a
Mhm.
notion that it actually an accurate one.
Yeah, absolutely. With pleasure. So burlesque is, in essence, is the art of the striptease. It
Mhm.
is, and in fact, today that our conversation is pretty has phenomenal timing, because one of the hugest legends of burlesque just passed away today, Tempest Storm,
Oh wow,
who
I
was the
know that
first
name.
woman to be paid $1 million back in 1958 for her dancing. She was the star of stars, and she just passed away today at the age of 93. So rest in peace, Tempest.
Yes, yes.
But burlesque is something I knew absolutely nothing about. I, growing up, and I talk about this in my book, but growing up, I was very aware at the importance of presenting oneself in a certain way.
Mhm.
And from a dance standpoint, the thing I love about dance is that you just, like, you hear the music, you move your body. And I personally don't care what people look like, as long as they're moving to their beat in response to the music. And so, growing up, I was like, oh, you have to look a certain way, and you have to do this, and you have to dance a certain way. And I just didn't like it. And when I was in my late 20s, I was in graduate school. I was very fortunate to go abroad to graduate school. I was living in London,
Oh,
and I
great.
had gotten a job, and I did not want to move back to New York. I didn't want to come home. And my whole life, I've been trying to run away to Europe, and it hasn't worked out. So I'm fine living here. I still love
That's
it.
funny.
But I had come home for a variety of reasons, and I was still working, but I knew that deep down inside something was off. I wasn't trusting my own instincts. I had absolutely no concept of like what my priorities were versus the priorities of my job, because I
Mhm.
had just made my work my life, and it was helping me sponsor to get sponsored for a visa and everything. So I just poured all of me into this job, and I had to come home, and I was just like, I got to do something about this. And so I went
Mhm.
on a weekend retreat. The timing was precipitous and frankly miraculous, and the name of the retreat was Trust Your Vibes, and it was all about
Ooh.
developing your sixth sense. And I'm super into that, and it was something I was like, well, sure, I have a sixth sense, but yeah, why not? I'll do that. And it during that weekend, I mean, the woman who was leading it kept having us do guided meditations, and she kept asking us, ask yourself what would bring you the greatest happiness or the greatest joy in your work, in your home life, in what colors you want to purchase for your wardrobe. I mean, she went really wide with it, and I was like, cool, let's play with this. And on the last day, she had us go into a meditation and asked us to ask ourselves what would bring us the greatest joy as a career path. And at this point, I was just wide open. And I was like, all right, all forces that are just, I'm ready, give it to me. And I heard a voice inside my ear. I have never had this happen before or since.
Mhm.
And it said burlesque dancer. And I felt like I had
Wow.
gotten hit by lightning. All of my hair stood up on my body. I
Yeah.
opened my eyes to turn to the side. Nobody was there. And I couldn't, I mean, it was one of the freakiest experiences I've ever
Mhm.
had. And I was just like, well, dancer, okay, I understand, but what is this thing called burlesque? And I went home and I hopped onto my mom's computer and I Googled it, and I was like, you want me to do what? Because one of the little side notes too is that I had unfortunately struggled with an eating disorder for most of my high school, college, early 20s.
Mhm.
I had never been shown that I was safe to love me as I was, you know, faults and failings and, you know, fabulous flaws and all, shall we say. And when I was like, okay, what's this thing called burlesque? You want me to do what? Like, oh, I don't know about this. And I just one step in front of the other, and truly the universe took over. You know, how, if you want to call it God, if you want to call it
Yeah.
source, if you want to call it, you know, extraordinary coincidence and nature at work, it one thing happened in front of the other, and before I knew it, Legs Malone was born.
I love it. So, and that's, I think, for you midlife women who are listening, we tend to not listen to that voice because we're just too busy bowling, running down life or chitter chattering, and we never quiet ourselves to hear that little voice. And so, like you said, you never heard it before, you've never heard it since, right? But when it hit you, you knew it was something, right? It wasn't something you were meant, it was something meant for you, a message you were meant to hear. And that's what I hope that you guys all learn. That's right there's one thing you've right there. Trust that inner voice and follow it, because it's one thing to hear it, but you took action on it. And that's what I think where most people don't, right? They hear something, oh yeah, whatever, I'm doing this. And like you said, and once you took that action, the universe just keeps gave you the next logical step, right? To follow you into that path. So I don't know if you heard what she called herself, but Legs Malone, that was the name. So first of all, I got to imagine you have a great set of legs, being a burlesque dancer and naming yourself that. Yeah.
I am. Well, I'm now. I was Legs Malone for a very long time, and then I actually got ordained, and so I'm now Reverend Legs Malone.
Love it.
And so I am. My tagline is the minister with the 34.5-inch inseam.
I love it, love it, love it. That is awesome. And being 5'2" myself, having being very envious of those long, beautiful dancer legs, I can only imagine. I'm a Pilates instructor, and so I used I used to always joke around and say that I'm not the ballerina Pilates dancer. I said I'm the broken bodies Pilates instructor. So which they're all needed, but
absolutely.
But anyways, and so explain to us. So you followed this path, and you kind of did you have to get like certified in it? Do you have to get certain kind of training? Like what does that entail?
No, this is such a good question, because with burlesque dancing, at least
she's gone. Uh-oh. Let's hang out here. Hopefully she will pop back in. I'm gonna just stay here and smile at y'all. Yep, there she is. Oh, there you are. Good. All right, perfect. I don't you had broken up a couple times, so maybe there's something a little going on. I can. Oh, yes. Well, hold on. I don't have it in the stream. That's why. There you go. Hold on. There you go.
I am sorry about that. This is one of the challenges we've been having trouble with our internet. So thank you so much for letting me know I've been freezing. I'm going to try to position my computer so I can maintain a good signal.
Yeah, but absolutely. But like you said, you were grateful for technology, so at least I got you back here, right?
Exactly.
And that's what live is. Live is for going with that flow of life.
Well, actually, and I love that you just said that, because one of the things we say is, because when you're on stage, everything goes wrong at some point. At one point or another, a wig's going to fly off, a heel's going to break, like there's going to be a wardrobe malfunction, who knows? And one of the things that we would always say is live entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. I'd said that to an audience. My music stopped dead in the middle of an act, and it was a brand new act. And it was a packed audience at one of the most respected sort of indie performance houses in Manhattan. And my music was not playing. And so I just turned to the audience, looked at them, was like, live entertainment, everybody. And the whole place like laughed, because there's a difference between acknowledging when things are going a bit funny and then also like pretending that it's not happening. And it's just so much easier to say yes and like, yeah, okay, well, this is going nuts, and hey, here I still am. So it's good life rules, I'd like to say.
I love you. Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we got cut off, you were about to tell us about how like training wise or not.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for that reminder. So I got my my introduction to it was through the New York School of Burlesque, because I was in New York
a school. Okay. Yeah.
And there are schools all over the place. However, that being said, with most, as opposed to like ballet or any sort of more rigorous artistic discipline, burlesque is pretty punk rock when it comes to these sort of things. So you don't need There were burlesque performers who had a background in capoeira, who would bring capoeira on stage, and like nobody had ever seen that before. But and then there was classically trained contortionists and ballet dancers and Juilliard opera singers. And then there is someone like me who's coming from the art world, who had been studying video artists and saying like, oh, that's cool, I want to try that on stage, why not? And suddenly, boom, I was off to the races. But there is certainly a sort of a classical canon of burlesque that I feel that anybody who wants to just even dip their toes in with, even if you never want to get on stage, it's a wonderful way to introduce ourselves to, and our bodies specifically, to a different kind of movement. Because not only is burlesque sensual and fun and playful and cheeky, but we as the dancers get to call the shots. There is no prescribed choreography. We get to come up with the choreography. We put our costumes together. We do the bookings.
Wow.
We do all of that. We choose the music. It is a totally solo directed endeavor. And for that reason, it makes for not just a diverse sort of offering as with regards to acts, but you never know what you're going to get. Never, ever, ever. So
no, I would assume no two shows are the same.
No. Even if people are doing the same acts, you never know. You never know.
And I love the fact that you said that you could kind of, the music gets put on, you're choosing as you're going almost, and you're kind of designing it as you go. And that way, there are sometimes I know, even for myself, you get up, you're still performing when you're getting on video in some way, right? And so when you have that control, like I do, to kind of, right, there are days that I'm up here and I'm very professional, and then there are days when it's just a more casual thing, and you can be yourself. And I think that's, with that burlesque, it sounds like the fact that you get to direct it, you get to kind of how you're feeling gets expressed to the audience that day, I would imagine.
Yeah. And I love that you just said that, because one of the sort of pearls of wisdom that I've gleaned from burlesque that I feel can be applied very wide is the thought that the audience only sees what you show them. So if you are walking out onto stage and you're not having, you're not feeling great, and you're kind of like, you're looking down, or you're, I don't know, like covering your belly maybe, or like not making eye contact with the audience. Human beings are relational creatures. We read each other like that. And so if people are watching someone on stage and they're out there and they're like, does that person even want to be there? Oh, I don't feel, and the audience starts to feel uneasy because what's being shown is unease. However, if you walk out there and you're having a hard day, maybe it was a tough day at work, maybe, you had like 3 slices of pizza 3 hours before the show, and like your belly is taking brand new shapes that your shimmy belt doesn't exactly accommodate. It's like, what am I going to do about this? And it's like, well, it's not that I'm going to pretend it's not there. I am going to show up in my fullness and show the audience that, and show them that whatever I'm feeling unconscious or self-conscious about, it's mine. I don't have to share that with them, and they're not going to see it unless I bring their attention to it. So that was a real pearl of wisdom that I gleaned.
Yeah. And so the name of your book is Stripped Down. Burlesque, sometimes people can think of it as stripping. I mean, I don't know. What is there? Obviously, there's a difference, right? And so forth. So maybe just explain the difference between both those, if that would.
Yeah, with pleasure. And if it's okay, I'll give you about a 1-minute history of burlesque.
Perfect. I'm gonna go off screen and let you do that while I.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there you go.
So what we know as burlesque is it was started in the word itself means mockery. It's rooted from a 16th century Italian word called burla, B-U-R-L-A. And if you're familiar with the Commedia dell'arte, that is the first time the word burlesque starts to be used. Mind you, it was in Italian, but it then came into English. Now, in was it 1866, 1868, there was a British woman named Lydia Thompson and her troupe, her British Blondes, who came over from the UK, came to America, and they scandalized New York City by performing special plays that they put together. It was an all-women run cast production, everything. And they scandalized New York City because they were wearing knee-length skirts and thick white woolen tights that showed off the curves of their calves and their ankles. And it was totally scandalous. Fast forward to vaudeville. We're talking the late 19-teens, the 20s, even into the 30s. And they found out that, having a dancing girl was always a fast way to fill up the houses. And so they kept it going. There's usually 1, maybe 2 girls in a show. And then in the, I think it was the late 20s, the Minsky brothers, and there's a much wider history. This is a very brief history. The Minsky brothers said, you know what? Let's do only burlesque. And they built theaters. They named theaters the Apollo in Harlem. If you've ever seen Showtime at the Apollo, that was built as a burlesque theater. And, coming up through to the 40s and the 50s, which is known as the golden age of burlesque, burlesque was thriving. And what we now call stripping had not been invented yet. It was too risque, too taboo. To be doing in a wider way. I'm sure it was happening behind closed doors, as humans are wont to do. But it wasn't until the 60s, first off, the invention of cinema really sort of took burlesque out at the knees. Because people are like, why go do that when I can go see some sort of stunning cinematic epic? And then I think it was like the late 60s, the dancers started to take everything off. Burlesque, you have to keep pasties on and a G-string. You need to keep certain parts of yourself covered in order to remain legal and not get the venue or the show shut down. And more these laws were being flaunted. And in fact, it was a woman in the 1940s who got burlesque shut down in New York City, thanks to Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, who was dead set on killing burlesque. And then this one woman performed naked and boom, that was it. It was gone. And so burlesque sort of experienced a huge dip in the 70s. And the aesthetic itself was actually carried forth by drag queens. There was that, the victory rolls, the real 1940s sort of vintage pinup vibe that was continued on in drag culture. And then sort of starting in the late 90s, what we now call the neo-burlesque movement started to come up. And it sort of spontaneously cropped up all over the US. And in 2000, a whole bunch of people came together. There was a big convention in New Orleans called Teaserama. And that's when sort of all the neo-burlesque people met each other. But one more thing I'll say, as this is slightly longer than a minute, clearly. But if anybody wants to learn more about the history of burlesque, I strongly recommend visiting the Burlesque Hall of Fame Museum. You can visit somewhat online. It's based in Las Vegas. And it was originally started by a burlesque performer named Jenny Lee, who was known as the Bazoom Girl. And she started hosting reunions for all of the burlesque performers that she had toured the world with at her ranch in Hellendale, California. And those started, I think, they just started randomly starting. And before they knew it, women were coming and stapling parts of their costumes to the wall of her husband's bar, which started the collection of the museum. And so many years later, Jenny passed away. Another performer named Dixie Evans, who was known as the Marilyn Monroe of burlesque, she took over. And Exotic World, which was the original name of the museum, was based in an old goat farm in Hellendale, California. There was an old sign in front where it didn't matter what time of the day. If you rolled up, there was a sign that said honk 3 times for a tour. You'd honk 3 times. Dixie would come out at any hour of day. She'd put a pot of coffee on, and she would give you a personalized tour of the entire museum's collection. And the museum is now in Las Vegas, and they are an incredible resource of burlesque history, burlesque paraphernalia, lots of fabulous performer stories. It's really a very rich history.
Oops, there you go. Well, that is fascinating. I mean, and I love that honk 3 times and she comes out. But that's so cool. I mean, it's so grassroots, like, how that's kind of come around and so forth. So let's kind of bring this around to the, midlife in your body and just women in their bodies in general. And so, you're taking all you're wearing are little pasties and a G-string. So you're out there, you're letting it all show. So you've got to be pretty confident in your body to do that. Has that always been the case? How did you, the first time you got on stage, how do you muster up the confidence to do that? All those kind of things.
So I had been told I did not, I had never looked at myself as somebody who was beautiful. I was somebody who was constantly like squeezing into shapewear and like trying to become somebody I wasn't. And the first time I got on stage, my heart was like, get on stage and make your art, do that thing. And so I was kind of like, I think I need a costume. I don't know. And I actually didn't pay attention to my body. It was all about making sure I did the act. I delivered the jokes on time and everything. Cause I prefer comedic burlesque in my repertoire personally. Okay. But after a while, when it became clear that I was not going to be stopping dancing anytime soon, I would have to put on sort of goggles of courage if I was feeling low, if I was just like, ugh, I feel terrible. There were little tricks I could do to help me sort of get in the mood. Number one was covering myself in glitter, which was a nightmare to clean up. But it was such a visual surprise to see that I, for myself, that I was like, oh, that's, yeah, sure, that's great, that's cool. And then I started to learn about the different costume tricks to do to suit my body, because nobody's body is shaped the same way. A certain outfit or line of a dress or, G-string or whatever it is, it's going to look great on one person. It's not going to look good on another person. And when I say not look good, it's just not going to flatter them. And now more than ever, with all of the fashion and, certainly with, all of and there's so many fabulous fat performers, and I say fat with immense love, and they identify as fat. And older performers too. I mean, this is the thing about Exotic World. There are grandmothers getting up on stage and dancing. Women who were dancing back in the 60s getting up and their grandkids are in the audience, be like, yeah, grandma. It's incredible. But, after a while, I realized I couldn't hold myself back anymore, because I have always been my worst judge. And when I have shared my insecurities or my lack of, confidence with friends, they're always like, "What are you talking about, Anna? Like, just go do your thing. Go make your magic. Like, hush, go do it." And I realized I would often say the exact same thing to my friends. They're like, "I don't feel so good," or "Ugh, like I forgot. I'm not feeling good. I've gained some weight. I've lost some weight. I don't like how my body looks." Whatever it was just like, how about you walk with the thought that your body actually isn't who you are? And what would it look like if you got out there and showed your soul and shared with shared with the world your heart? That's the stunning thing. That is what will stop traffic.
And we can go through life. I'm getting goosebumps all over what you just said. I got to rewind this and go back and do that, because we should go through life that way, right? Not just when we're on stage, but when we walk out our door, we should feel that way. And it is a hard place to get to. And now, do you work with women at all, either teaching burlesque or helping them heal their bodies? What is it that you do, that you're doing now, or how has burlesque as evolved for you?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes to everything. I have found, so I've worked as a healing arts practitioner for the last 19 years, full time for the last 11. And I found when I was dancing, I had a lot of resources just because I had worked so hard on my own relationship to my body. And I was getting into dressing rooms and listening to women be really unkind to themselves, and ultimately each other, because we can only do unto others what we do to ourselves. We can only treat others the way we treat ourselves. And I was just hearing all of this, really mean talk by these women who were just these stunning folks. And so I said, hold up, how about I bring the healing arts and burlesque together? And so that's what I'm teaching now. And so I'm actually in the midst of wrapping up my first ever online burlesque class called Burlesque Emergence, which is learning the core basics of burlesque, from the comfort of our home, in ways that affirm our own organic movement as we learn to play with props or movement, or even playing with time, slowing down movement. That for some people is the hardest thing to do, because we live in a culture where it's like, you got to get everything done yesterday. That's sort of instant gratification. And burlesque is like, you got to wait, honey. And it's extraordinary. And so I love teaching burlesque with a specifically healing element to it. There are some fabulous performers who teach pure burlesque online, which are incredible, but I can't not bring healing in, because especially as women, our bodies have been so loaded down with messaging, with I'll call them polarities of opinion, and I'll leave it there, for millennia, that oftentimes each of us, even that journey home and when I say journey home, I mean journey home to self-acceptance, to love, to self-celebration, celebrating the body, showing up with the body however you want it to be looking like, celebrating you. That's not something I know that any of my ancestors ever did. None of the women from whom I am descended were ever able to do that for a variety of reasons. And so I like to think of it, when I give myself permission to put on my makeup and put on my wigs and put on my costumes and just share my art and my love with the audience, I'm also bowing to my mother and my grandmothers and my great grandmothers and all of those thousands upon thousands of women from whom I'm descended and saying, hey, like, I'm going to do something you might not have been able to do, and I'm doing it out of love for the body that you have given me.
Oof. I love that. And it's so true. I mean, I mean, the ancestry of women, right?
Mhm.
And I love history, and you look back, and I have a 16-year-old now, and she doesn't even, when something happened, 20 people's opinions or things that went on, she thinks, oh, that's so bad, but that's how life evolves. I try to say people think one way or act one way. So women were treated a certain way at that time. And, we're still being treated, but we're getting better than it was. And we're allowed to
Absolutely.
do more. We're allowed to, share ourselves, share our bodies, share whatever,
Mm.
go out there and do. So what types of clients come to you? Who are they? Where do I said you just mentioned online.
Mhm.
What type of person would be a good client of yours?
I love working with women, period. Growing up, being in a female body, growing up female, like, I mean, y'all are my people, my sisters, my aunties, my cousins. And I really love, and I'm looking to work with women who are ready to play, not necessarily, to try, sure, hey, if anybody wants to become a burlesque performer, absolutely come and join the party. But I find women who are called to work with me are women who are in the midst of enormous transition, and they either need something to take their mind off of whatever's going through whatever they're going through, but also I find they come to me because they want to find out who they are at a brand new level of self-acceptance, of self-celebration, of maybe allowing themselves to play with being sensual, especially
I
if
was gonna
that.
ask you that. Oh, sorry, but yeah,
Yeah,
is
no, no,
that
no, 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 please interrupt away.
yeah? Well, no, but about that piece of it, because is there
Mhm.
a sensual, sexual piece to it that you find that awakens that in women, or or are those women who are already coming to you who are pretty keen, tuned into their sexuality? What do you find?
It runs the gamut. I find, and there's something I love that you mentioned sexuality and sensuality, because those are actually two very different things. Sexuality is who we are sexually attracted to, who we want to
Mhm.
be, romantically spending time with, intimate time with. Sensuality, if you break it down, the base of the word is sense. It's to feel. And so it's about feeling. How do you give yourself permission to just luxuriate in your lived experience in this gift of a body? Just, let go of the judgment, let go of the shame, let go of that stuff. Park it outside, give it a snack. It's not going anywhere until you decide it is going somewhere. Come and play. And and the thing is, and this is rooting into somatic movement as well, which is when you change how you move, you can change how you think. When you learn new movement from a neuronal standpoint,
Yeah.
from a synaptic standpoint, you're actually bringing in, it's like ruffling the surface of water with new movement. And
Mhm.
as a result, I have found, certainly in hearing from women, I actually just had an email from a woman who took a class with me in person probably about 3 years ago. It'd been a really long time. And she said, you helped plant a seed for me that is growing into just the most stunning blossoming of who I have wanted to be. And she's been, doing hardcore burlesque study with a woman. She had just had her second child. And she was just like, I'm tired of feeling frumpy and covered in spit up and milk. And cleaning up after my kids. And I want something for me. But then conversely, I had a 68-year-old grandmother come to my class, and she killed it. She
I'm
was
sure.
amazing. And she had never let herself do it. And she's like, you know what do I have to lose? Maybe I'll learn how to bump and grind. Maybe I'll learn how to like slowly peel a glove off and like wink at the audience, and like the audience was like, and the audience by I mean the class, because everybody gets to perform at the end if they want. The people were on literally like kicking their feet up on the ground, be like, oh my God. And it's
That's
because she had given herself permission to
mhm.
just play. And it's extraordinary.
And play is hard for me, so I know it's also hard
Mm.
for a lot of women. It's a lot to let down your defenses, a lot to let that side of you do. So I think what you're doing is just an amazing gift that you're giving women to tap into, this playful side, but also, and thank you for correcting or, that's not correcting, but showing me the
Mm.
difference between sensual and sexual. You're
Absolutely.
absolutely, because you're absolutely right. And I
Mhm.
love that you're right. It is about your senses. And so being able to tune in all over. And I don't know if who my midlife ladies out there are watching, Marva, if you're still there, but I could totally see you doing this, Marva. um, and I think it is. It's just such a very neat way of getting in touch with yourself in a different way than exercise, the gym. You know, when you talk about movement of your body, I think we tend to think of those sports or the gym or those things. We don't tend to think of. This is a totally Jill thing.
Mhm.
Burlesque, is there like pole dancing in burlesque, or is that striptease? That is something there is. All right. So
That's something. I mean, there's one of the beautiful things about burlesque is there's lots of little rivulets that have formed off of it. So there's actually something called pole-lesque, which is using the pole that is you would typically find in everything from S Factor to an actual strip club.
mhm.
There's for horror movie fans, there's gorelesque, which always comes with a tarp. There's also for guys who want to dance and learn how to do burlesque. What they do is called boylesque. So there's
How
lots of really cool
interesting.
iterations. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a great question. Thank you for
And what about
asking.
your friends and family? What do they think of it? Or what did they think in the beginning? Now, what was that reactions?
Um, all of the women in my family were super supportive. My father was horrified and said, "Hey, you know what? You seem really happy. I don't ever want to talk about it." And I said, "That's totally cool, Dad. Thanks for that boundary." And because
Yeah.
I certainly wasn't about to tell him about it. But my mother would come to all of my shows.
Oh,
And that was incredible. And it's so special how many moms go to shows for their daughters.
yeah.
And, like I host a lot of shows. I mean, in the before times and in the soon to come back times when we all get to be
Mhm.
together, I love hosting and being like, there are moms in the audience, of performers, like, yeah, that's me. That's my daughter. It's so beautiful to see that. And I'm very fortunate. There are certainly performers whose families are not as accepting and not as celebrating of it. But it really boils down to what brings you joy. And
Yeah.
my family saw in me that I was happier, I felt lighter, and they were like, "Well, you're clearly doing something you love, so keep on doing it."
Yeah. And that I hope you all are listening because that is the message, right? You got to live your
Mhm.
authentic life. You can't, at this point I say, well, I'm 51. I mean, too old for this crap. You know what I'm saying? I can't listen to other people's voices anymore. You got to do what makes you happy, our own route. And the truth is and like you found when you followed what made you happy, people accept you, they support you for
Mhm.
who you are and if they don't, then they're not, then either they give you a boundary, right? Like, I love you, but we're going to think, or they're not in your life, right? That's not the
Mhm.
person, and that you don't need them at this moment in your life. So
Exactly.
you wrote this book, Stripped Down. I'm going to make sure I had it right. It's called Stripped Down: How Burlesque Led Me Home.
Mhm.
And that just came out, just last year, so just in May
Mhm.
of last year. So what made you
Mhm.
decide to write the book?
So my entire life since probably about second grade, I have been told to become a writer. It's something I really enjoy doing, and I had constantly I'd been trying to start stuff, and I didn't know it. And before I knew it, I actually had a friend from high school contact me out of the blue, and we hadn't spoken since 1996 when I graduated from high school. And she said, "Hey, you know what, Anna, you should write a book." And I was like, what? I mean, lovely to hear from you, but huh? And I started to outline it, and I was talking to a friend about it, and then it sort of started to snowball. All these tiny little snowflakes of possibilities. Suddenly, like there was something moving, and there was momentum, and suddenly I was setting a clock every single day to write for half an hour. It didn't matter. I'd been hearing set an hour, set aside 10 minutes, set aside an hour, set aside 5 minutes. And I kept trying everything. And my happy medium was half an hour. And
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? That way, if I'm squeezing blood from a stone, if I have 5 more words on the page, amazing. And if I suddenly it's 8 hours later and I've written 32 pages, which actually happened, then that's awesome. But it was one of those things where it was the next sort of step of really being intimate with an audience in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. And I consider this book the most naked I have ever been. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think people realize that. And I've said that, I've used those words as well. Like, you are putting it all out there for people to see, and you're telling your story, so even more. But even with my books,
Yes.
it's still you putting
Mhm.
out there to the world, and like, are they going
Yep.
to like, are they this, that? So it is a big step. So I commend you. I think anybody who takes that step to do that, I hope all you ladies write a book. Marva also has written a book as
Yes.
well. So
Write your books, ladies. Your stories matter so much. Don't judge yourself. Just write. Just
It
do
is.
it. Just write.
This is the time. I've said, in our midlife years, we have so much wisdom, we have so much life experience, and everybody's story. Even if I was to bring on another burlesque lady, it would be a totally different story because we all experienced it different. So,
Mhm.
absolutely. So, I know that you have a free gift for to share with the audience. So, while I try to do my tech stuff and get it up, I'll let you explain how about it. All right.
Yeah, with pleasure. So, as a gift to everybody watching, I want to, so you see the link right there, legsmalone.com/shop. I have created a 21-day, it's a free email, like one email a day, really, really short emails uh, that offer what are called quarantine self-care opportunities. The gift itself is called 21 Days of Quarantine Self-Care. And I developed it last year. I was not expecting us to still be in quarantine. Thankfully, the light is at the end of the tunnel. Exact arrival TBA. But from now until whenever, you can go to this right here, legsmalone.com/shop. The first item, click on it. It says 21-day quarantine self-care. Click on it. And then when you get into it, you get to read about it. And then there is a highlighted text that says, click here to redeem your gift. Please click that. Do not click checkout. Just click the, I've been having, I am a dancer, I'm an artist. I am not a tech person whatsoever. So I apologize for not having an immediate direct click. This is basically go right here, click on the first option. You'll see it right there. And then in there, look where the arrows are pointing to say, click here, click there, and you're off to the races. And you will start getting one email a day for 21 days, starting the day after you sign up. And they're just gentle prompts and introductions for ways for people to just bring in some more self-care into our everyday lives, because so often we confuse self-care with self-soothing. And self-soothing is to calm down, but it is not a permanent change. It's just a way to sort of curb a heightened experience, whereas self-care is actually creating new habits, bringing in new opportunities, and really regularly giving to yourself in a generous way.
Great, beautiful definition of it. I love that. I might have to use some of that myself. But absolutely,
Please.
sounds like a fantastic gift. So make sure you ladies do what she said and follow those instructions. And I will also have Anna put that into the chat afterwards, so that you guys make sure to download that. But is there any final maybe message, words, anything you want to impart to us all before we wrap things up a little bit?
I will say this, both to you, Jill, and to all of your fabulous viewers. You are so much more beautiful than you think you are. What would it look like if you dropped your judgment and picked up your beauty and walked unapologetically into your future?
Love it. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your pearls of wisdom in there, your free gift, all of these wonderful things, your beautiful smile.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, you've just got some incredible energy around you. I would,
Mhm.
even then we talk about this tech world and this thing, and it's amazing how you can still feel energy through just through people's
100%.
facial expressions and how they express themselves. So I feel very connected to you, and I'm so glad to have you as a guest here on the Women with Mojo show. I hope that you continue to be a part of our group. And ladies, I hope that you connect with Anna as well and check her out. Make sure to go check out her book, Stripped Down, as well. I'm assuming you can get that on Amazon, your
Absolutely. You
book.
can get it wherever books are sold. It's actually on sale on Amazon right now.
Oh, so even better. So definitely, I want to
Mhm.
go grab that one then. Perfect for sure. So awesome. So I am going just to take you off screen. If you would just wait as I just kind of wrap things up.
Mhm.
All right, ladies. Well, that is it for another Women with Mojo conversation series with an inspirational woman over 40. And I would definitely say Anna, aka Reverend Legs Malone, is pretty inspirational there. So I hope that what I'm hoping you gained from tonight was that go out there, be yourself, be your authentic self, lay it all out there, right? Flaws and all, put all that stuff aside and just follow what feels right to you. Because when you do, it's going to lead you somewhere special. and somewhere that fills you with that sense of self. And as I always say, and when you're filled up, right, when your cup is full, then you can go out there and fill others. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here again. If you know of any other Women with Mojo, you want to have somebody on here that you think would be a great person with Women Mojo, has an inspiring story to share with us, definitely send them my way. And otherwise, we will see you next month, second Wednesday of the month at 7:30. We're a little off this week. I had to be off this month. I was on vacation last week, but back next month, we're back on our second Wednesday of the month, 7:30. And I will see you then. Have a great one, everyone.